This episode is brought to you by 180 Markets, where it is our goal to bring every individual, fund manager, family office, or any qualified investor access to Australian Stock Exchange capital raises. If you are ever interested in how to access ASX capital raises in a super simple way, 180 Markets is for you. The sign-up process is easy. You just upload your ID, proof of your investor status, and your current brokerage account information. The settlement of shares goes right into your existing account, and you can access our very next capital raise. If you're interested in free, easy access to thousands of ASX capital raises, including placements, IPOs, reverse takeovers, and more, check out 180markets.com.au. Hello, investors. Welcome yet again, another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Friends, when you have a mega trend, such as batteries and all the battery metals that go into these batteries, a structural trend, and then on top of it, you have an incredible project, as we do today. And finally, you've got the right management team, the right people behind that project. That makes for a great investment. And that's what we have on tap for you today. We have Vincent Algar, a returning guest from Australian Vanadium. And for those of you that aren't familiar, he has already made us a lot of money and is going to make us even more. And with that introduction to talk about where the company has been and where it's going right now, Vincent, welcome back.
Yeah, great to be back, Greg.
Hey, Vincent, we have a long history for you. Can you maybe just start out with about a year ago, where the company has come from to where it is today?
Yeah, look, Greg, it's been a good roller coaster for us. I'm looking at the share price curve. It's a good roller coaster because it's all uphill, right? That's what we want to see. So after the raising we did with you guys, the share price is just over a cent. We did that raising, and then we started to move forward towards the end of the year. We released a really good study and updated the market. We saw that the stock took off and started to move in to get a re-rating up in the new year. Now that didn't coincide with the change in the vanadium price. It coincided with good results from the company and underlying, and as you said, understanding that this battery thematic is extending beyond the lithium-ion batteries and into the stationary storage markets. And one of the key players in that space is going to be the vanadium battery, the vanadium redox flow battery, the Australian invention out of Sydney. So we at Australian Vanadium have got a project to supply that sector as it grows. We've got an active plan to be involved in the delivery of batteries and electrolyte, which is the fuel for those batteries in that sector in the Australian market, and to become a world supplier of vanadium to the steel market at the same time. This is a critical mineral. It's a critical mineral because of its use in steel applications and the dominance of certain countries in that market. So it makes it critical. So we've seen over the last 12 months since our raising with 180, we've seen a constant re-rating of the company over time. And we've seen the thematic moving in our favor. And being the number one choice in vanadium around the world, we're attracting the investors that we expect. And a number of those investors are still with us from the first time when they joined us with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you just talk about your project, about where it is right now, because it really has made a lot of progress, and maybe also discuss just how big it can be and the next key milestones.
Yeah, look, we delivered at the end of 20. We delivered a update to our pre-feasibility study. That study was focused on an upgrade to the resource, giving us a 25-year mine life. We've extended that information, and that's really coming to lead us into that last phase of the hurdle, which is to get to the bankable feasibility study. For investors is banks and large investors that will fund projects like this. They want to see, and governments that are interested in these projects, they want to see the project accuracy, the detail. They want to know that this thing's going to work. They want to see the detailed balance sheet. They want to see the forecasting. They want to see accurate price. They want to see detailed engineering. So the bankable feasibility study is now being completed by our team. We've had a very busy year chasing that up. That'll be delivered in the third quarter. And as we work through that delivery, we'll know exactly where we can take this project to market, take it to build, take it to the build phase. That's where we're headed. That's been our core objective, and we've achieved that. In large part, the recognition of the share price so far has been around that imminent delivery of our project and our intent to build that project.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear, the BFS, we're going to see that imminently. And as you said, it's incredibly accurate. And also, I know it's hard. We have to be careful about talking about specific NPVs and numbers, but compared to where your market cap is today to where the NPV of the project could potentially be, is it fair to say it's a multiple difference?
Yeah, look, we already moved that multiple when we did the updated pre-feasibility study. Our pre-tax NPV of that project was $909 million with an IRR of 17.5% and the lowest operating cost of any of the projects up and coming in the world. And that's what Australia can deliver. But with this, and that's really the ballpark we're going to be working with. That was a significant change from where we were in our earliest pre-feasibility study in 2018. So we're seeing those changes. We'll lock in the extra, the capital will be locked into a much finer range. We'll understand the OPEX, and we'll know we can deliver that down the line.
Yeah, and investors, for those of you that don't know, the current market cap is sitting around circa $80 million. So obviously there's a big gap in between those numbers, a lot of room there for sure. Hey, Vincent, also just getting into, because sometimes the devil is in the detail, your project, your process is particularly unique and very, very well thought out. Can you just tell us a little bit about it from a non-engineering perspective?
Yeah, so when you take vanadium out the ground, it always comes, in the history of vanadium processing around the world, it always comes out of these rocks, these titanium vanadium bearing rocks. They have titanium, vanadium, and iron in them. And you have to take that material out, and there's some very particular ways to extract that material, extract the vanadium from that material and generate value from the byproduct as well as from the high value vanadium. So what we've done at AVL is spent nearly 2 years now piloting the various components of the extraction, and we've achieved some of the world's highest extraction rates in our piloting work. And this is not just desktop stuff. This is stuff we've done at scale in big labs, big gear. So those processing steps include a very, very good ore body that is really underpinning everything. Always good to have a good ore body, and we have one of the best. The next step is to extract the maximum amount of vanadium out of the ore into the concentrate, and then we're using a pelletized roast, and that has been achieved exceptional recoveries on the back end and delivering us with a very good, one of the world's best outcomes in terms of the yield. And the yield is really important. It's one of the most important concepts of any mining project is what is the yield? Because if your yield is high, you're getting good bang for your buck on the way through the processing. So we're very proud of the circuit we've developed and the testing level we've done to achieve that.
Yeah, and does that also tie in with, you are getting some recognition overseas as well. You just had, I believe, an announcement with US Vanadium. Is that the reason that you're getting international recognition, do you believe?
Yeah, look, I think the vanadium world is, as you mentioned at the very outset of this, that we have a really good team, and we have an international team of vanadium people. So we have directors on our board from the US, and my COO is from the US as well, operated in vanadium for many years. That international nature extends to the whole vanadium landscape, and the recognition that the project is going to be the next project off the rank is really critical. So that's really what this comes from. It's a relationship thing as well as us being seen to be actually getting to those last stages. So USV are a technology partner with us now. They've been producing high purity vanadium chemicals for over 40 years under the name of Stratcore out of a plant in Arkansas, in Hot Springs. That plant's very well understood, and it produces some of the most high purity vanadium in the world. Now, what they do is they buy feedstocks in, and they turn them around into high purity products. And we're going to be doing a couple of things with the USV. We're going to be licensing some of their vanadium electrolyte technology to make vanadium, the electrolyte fuel for the vanadium flow batteries. And we're also going to be using some of their high purity feedstocks until such time as we can sell them our vanadium, because they want to distribute and use that to make high purity products in the US. So it's very much a mutual US-Australia deal, and it's probably the only one. We have unique rights to their technology in the Australia and New Zealand environment, and that gives us a very strong position going forward.
Yeah, incredible. Also, just turning the dial a little bit, within AVL, the portfolio itself, there were also a couple of upside optionality projects that you own or control or have a stake in. Can you just talk about those for a little bit?
Yeah, Greg, the project we are talking about, I think, is the Coates project.
Yes.
We've had that in the company for a little while. We've made some good progress this year. In fact, we've already delivered our first soil sampling over that project and showed we had some really interesting coincident copper, nickel, chrome, and platinum anomalism, which we weren't really expecting so soon in the project, but it really came up. And that anomalism is a small project, but this is a very exciting area. And the reason we got interested in the first place is it's actually a vanadium deposit. That's the core of it, right? But adjacent to these vanadium deposits are these very exciting base metal deposits and platinum deposits. So during the year, we've progressed that. We've finished the soils. We've made some advances in getting access to more of the area, which is a general problem in this whole area is having access. But we've got a very simple solution because we only have one authority to deal with. But we're making good progress there. And we've also flown, set up to fly a helicopter to do airborne electromagnetics. And this is a technique that's been found to be extremely productive in finding these targets in this area so far by Chalice and by some of the other players in the area like Casper. So we're very excited by what's happening. We've got that going on. And we also won a government EIS, which is an exploration incentive scheme funding for a drill program to test the geology across this area. So this is a side project for us, but it's potentially very, very valuable to the company, given the massive valuations we see in the region. So for AVL shareholders, they've always got this upside. It doesn't cost us a lot of time and money. We can do it in the off season if you like. It's a good winter sport, but we are getting it done, and we've started to see some real traction. And there's a lot of things to learn, right? You at Gabonintha, up at our main project, they're similar deposit styles. So there's lots to learn. There's a lot of synergy between those deposit styles, and that's really important. Our geological knowledge can be shared between our different deposits, which makes it even more valuable to us.
Yeah, and to be clear, I guess said another way, us as shareholders, we view, certainly Gabonintha is the main focus of the company, but you also have this upside optionality that can't hurt, right?
Never hurts to have some upside and have some additional projects in there, and especially if you're using your team to its full extent, using their knowledge. We're a very collaborative team with smart geos and smart engineers, and we like to share our knowledge. It's a very collegiate, collaborative, and equal environment to push these things along.
Yeah. Okay. And also, and then turning to the financials, we're doing a capital raise. It's going to obviously, bring in money into the coffers. Does that see you through to the BFS and take care of your near-term cash needs for sure?
Absolutely. I think what this does for us is put us in a very strong position. We can complete and deliver that BFS. That's a real currency for us. That puts a real bottom line on the valuation of the company. It sets the tone for the next step to deliver, to get to that financial close and actually put the project on the ground. So it's a really important part, especially from the debt and the government funding side. They want to see it at bankable delivery. So that absolutely gets us through that point. It also helps us to deliver on some of the obligations and desires of our grant we recently got from government. This was a $3.69 million grant, which we will spend our money on as well. And that's over a 2-year period to deliver Australia's first vanadium redox flow battery electrolyte supply plant. And that'll be capable of delivering, that plant is capable of delivering up to 33 megawatt hours of electrolyte for Australian deployment of these flow batteries. So that'll be a first. That's got to be done by March next year. That'll be a profitable organization. This is not a charity. We'll be making dollars per litre from that plant. We'll be sourcing that material from USV, and we'll be helping Australian and European and Chinese flow battery companies deliver their products into Australia in the cheapest possible way, helping that market grow. We also got funding as part of this grant to manufacture and design a local residentially made flow battery and a standalone power system for off-grid use. So we'll be manufacturing and prototyping those, getting the designs right and putting them out there. So those are really key steps as part of the grant, but we've got government funding and support for that. We'll put our part in and get those things done. This will help us do it.
Absolutely. Vincent, there is a ton going on at AVL. We are super, super, super proud and glad to support you. Do you have any closing remarks?
I'd say, Greg, look, it's really good to be doing what we're doing right now. As you said, the thematic is very strong. We have a very strong global thematic around clean energy, and AVL and the vanadium flow battery fits right into that. The reduction, the steel side is very interesting as well from that point of view. Vanadium plays an important role in decarbonisation in steel as well. So we're very pleased at that angle. It's a core business still for vanadium to be involved. And we're very excited about this last stage because we're going to be getting into the financial close, feed study, delivery side, right? We want to be able to get to build this thing for our investors. There's some good cash flows. This thing throws off $130 million a year in EBITDA for 25 years. Those are the things we're here for, and we want to get those on the table as soon as possible so that investors can get from an $80 million valuation to a $250, $300, $400 million valuation, which is where we believe we deserve to be.
Great. Thanks, Vincent, and be well.
Thank you, Greg.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching another presentation by 180 Markets. Don't forget, if you want access to thousands of ASX capital raises, head on over to 180markets.com.au, sign up, and get on board for our very next capital raise. Thanks for watching.